Hello, hello, bonjour, sawadee and welcome to the third episode of Apero Talk. Right now it is 11 p.m. I am exhausted. I just finished ranting to my mom about my classmates, which I think is something that I will have to do for as long as I am studying. I thought this year would be different because my introduction to my classmates was so fun, but sadly, it's nothing that group assignments cannot undo. I still get very well along with my classmates, but it's just cultural differences and personality clashes, and just I've never been someone that is meant to be doing group work unless I am like the clear leader. So it is a bit complicated. But yeah, apart from that, I also have to leave for immigration at like 4 a.m. I don't know why before I used to go at 8, 9 or 10 a.m. and everything was fine. But apparently now I have to go super early. So that's fun. Let's just hope that I get that fucking stamp and extension for one full year. That's fun. For the first time in my life, I will have a 1-year visa stamped on my passport, which is insane. I cannot wait. But yeah, so very tiring. I don't think I'm gonna sleep at all tonight. It's already 11. I have to film this, record this, edit this, cue this for tomorrow night. So yeah, lots of things to do. Apart from that, today, of course, we have to do our monthly apero. So for today, I bought this thing, which the bottle is very, very fun. It's giving a little bit of like Christmassy, but actually if you look at the design on it, it's like very much beach oriented. So yeah. And it's called Full Moon Pop raspberry flavor, which is great because it's also the name of my new hair color. And it's called Pinkie Pie, or is that the company? Not sure. Candy Pop beverage. Oh, this is gonna be sweet. Anyways, let's taste that. Ooh. It smells very much like cough medicine, so yeah, I'm a bit scared. Not too bad. It reminds me of another drink. It's exactly like, oh, I know what it makes me think. So in France and Belgium, we have this thing called La Crique. Actually, it's a Belgian beer, but as you know, I'm a half a quarter Belgian from my grandma, so yeah. And it's called La Crique. It's like a beer that is flavored like cherries, which is weird because this is supposed to taste like raspberry. Let me taste it once more. Yeah, it's with the bubbles, it tastes very, very close to a crique. So yeah, this is my assessment. For the snack, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I am super fucking full. I just ate a full Korean set with fried chicken and tteokbokki and kimbap. So I am full to the fucking brim. But I have to respect the rules that I set for this podcast. So today we have a very classic Thai snack. We have the seaweed snacks. So this one is the Tao Ken Oi, one that I tasted also on my channel, Axelle Loves Thailand, for my video on Thai Drama's product placements. And I actually really liked it. I hadn't eaten it in like over 3 years for that. But I actually like kind of fell back in love with it, even though it's kind of a useless snack because it's not filling at all. So you just eat it for the vibes. So that's also why I chose to eat that tonight, because again, I am full. So I'm gonna eat one for you guys, and this will last until tomorrow, for sure. Alright? and we're done with that. I don't know if the drink is like growing on me or if I'm hating it more as time passes by, but anyways. So, today's topic is feminism. So, a very, very important topic in my life. And I would say it's something that informs and guides all of my relationships with others in life, especially men. So, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna reveal the thing. The title of this episode is kind of clickbait, I guess. So it's called my journey from I'm not like other girls to feminism, which is a true title. I once was someone who's like, I'm not like other girls. But I was a kid. So I think it's not really the same as adult women who are pick-me girls or who don't want to be like other girls. But yeah, let me guide you to my gender relations, my own relation to gender and feminism, and let's start from the beginning. So I've mentioned in the last episode that I was a very shy and reserved kid. I really didn't know how to place myself in the world and in my relationships with others. I always felt like I didn't belong. I felt so out of place and I didn't know how to be normal. And I think that's a very common feeling for almost every kid. I don't think I've ever heard a kid be like, yeah, like I did not think I was special or different as a kid. Like I think everyone has this kind of at least one topic where they feel different and alienated from the other kids. And for me, I've always had plenty of them. But yeah, in terms of personality, I just was a very socially awkward kid. And for me, gender was something that didn't really matter. But from the beginning, I was always kind of a girl's girl in the sense that I've had like only one meaningful like friendship, like really truly deep friendship with a man who was my best friend in middle school. And yes, since then I have not had a meaningful friendship with a man. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, all of my meaningful relationships and my role models in life have always been women, except for my dad. So my dad is the only man that I am close to, that I have shared really good and really terrible moments with. And so, yeah, my dad is the only man in my life that I really can say I am close to, I love. And he, in a way, also represent a lot of the patriarchy and the other men, because I do not really have a close relationship with other men. He often becomes a standby figure for that, which I'm not sure is good, and I have been working on it, even though my dad and my mom, their whole relationship does exemplify a lot of what the patriarchy is like and what feminism has taught me. So it's not like I'm pulling sexism out of my ass and telling my dad that what he's doing is made by the patriarchy. Like, it is a true fact, but sometimes I think I tend to always go back to feminism and like blaming the patriarchy when he does anything. And yeah, now I've like tried to think through a little bit more, but yeah, I'm getting way ahead of myself. So yeah, as a kid, I was like, I don't know when I realized I was a girl, probably pretty early, but it was not like a central part of my identity. But I think as kids, we quickly realize that girls are not as good as boys, are not supposed to be as good as boys. Obviously, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do believe that women are better than men simply for being socialized as the weaker gender / sex. I think when you are a minority, you are necessarily gonna be stronger, smarter, better at everything because you have to work so much harder. And I'm not saying that adversity makes you better, but I also think that adversity does not make you worse, and in fact tends to, make you stronger, make you fight more for the things you want in life. So for me, that's how I see things. So as a kid, like, I realized I was a girl, and I always had friendships with girls from kindergarten. I had two best friends. They were like very outgoing and friendly and extroverted, and I was the shy one, like the shy, awkward one. And yeah, it was always like this, even though I've never had like particular trouble being friendly or like talking to guys. For me, guys, I think the way that men and women are set up as kids is that we are made to feel so different in everything. So the boys always play sport on the courtyard. There has been studies that show that boys take out way more space in the courtyard than women. And so as girls, we already learn to shrink ourselves by these small things that we can observe in our day-to-day life. And so for me, I just always knew I belonged with the girls, and it informed a lot of my taste and way of looking at things and everything. Now though, where the I'm not like other girls trope comes from. So if you don't know, I'm not like other girls is a trope that has gained a lot of popularity online, alongside with another term like pick me girl, to talk about women who do not embrace their girlhood and see other women as competition for male validation specifically. And so we'll do everything to seem like the cool girl, like the different girl, like the one of the boys, rather than to tap into their girlhood and femininity. And so for me as a kid, it started with the favorite color. So obviously blue is for boys, pink is for girls. For me, I wanted to be different, so I chose green and purple, which, fun fact, green and purple to this day are two of my favorite colors. And I chose green and purple, and I was obsessed with it, and I always said like, no, I don't like pink. I like green and purple. And so everything as a kid was green and purple. And my dad, at my big age of 24, still hasn't gotten the memo that like it's not their amazing colors. I especially love lilac and turquoise, which turquoise is more considered of a blue color, but it's a mix of blue and green, and it's the best color in the world, my favorite. Personally, like, it's the best, love it. But anyways, my dad still hasn't figured out that they're not my favorite colors anymore, so I think feminism has something to say about that. But I really proclaimed. I remember all the girls when I was like about 6, 7, 8. They loved horses, like it was their favorite animal. So I started hating horses out of nowhere, just because I saw that all the other girls loved horses. I was like, no, I hate horses. And I know that the girls who didn't want to be like other girls would say my favorite color is blue. A lot of the girls did that. And because I didn't even want to be like the other girls who are not like other girls, I chose two other colors that are very random, right? So I didn't even choose like the opposite color to pink, which was blue, because again, it was supposed to be a boy color. I chose completely other colors because I wanted to be special so bad. I wanted to be that bitch. And to be fair, I've always wanted to be special, and I still want to be special to this day. That's why I dress so colorful. My style and my appearance, apart from like, me being plus size and whatever, is so drastically different from the norm, right? From like what you will see around me. I stand out, and now it also, and honestly, it has really become something that I strive for, because even when I try to fit in, I always stood out. So now I've just embraced the fact that I will always stand out, and I want to stand out. Now it's something that I want, because I will stand out no matter what. But, the time I really wanted to be like different and not stand out too much and not be too opposite to, like, I didn't know my place. And I think it really included gender. I didn't get it. I didn't know why I didn't want to be like other girls and wanted to be different and didn't want to like pink. Spoiler alert, like now pink is one of my favorite color. Like I think my favorite colors are like in order. We have turquoise / mint. So any type of green mixed with blue is my favorite color. Like it's not one color, it's like multiples, like any kind of green mixed with blue. Then we have pastel pink, then we have pastel yellow, and then we have pastel purple. So these are my 4 favorite colors. And if you look at my artwork and things like that, these are the colors that I use all the time because they're gorge. They're gorgeous as fuck. And if you look at my personal style, it's also the colors that you will find the most in my wardrobe, especially pink. Pink is everywhere. So yeah, I like to think that kid me would look back at me and be like, wow, now you wear all pink. And she would be appalled, but also maybe like, she'd realize that like pink is a fucking badass color, okay? It's the best color, in my opinion. Like pink just goes with everything. It's flattering on every skin tone. Like it has range. It's just such a great color. Honestly, I've never seen a truly horrible shade of pink, which makes it a really great color, in my opinion. And then growing up, I reached middle school. And in middle school, obviously, middle school, I think, is really the war zone for puberty and your life. Everything just changes. You're figuring yourself out. You're having body image issues. You're having your first boy problems and friendship dramas. It's always like, it's a lot. And if you remember last episode, I also said that I peaked in middle school I thought I peaked in middle school for the longest time. And I think in middle school, I became even more obsessed with male validation in the sense that I really started having my first crushes. So every year I would have one crush on a boy, realize it during the summer break. And then when the next term would start, I would like kind of be over it already because I wasn't around this guy for like over 2 months. So it would be like, yeah, I used to like you, but now I don't. So yeah, and I think also going through puberty, starting to see people around you like date more, a little bit more seriously, having all the drama and all of these things, it makes you a bit obsessed with boys and what they think. But personally, I think I was always one of the least boy obsessed girls I knew. Not true, but I wasn't like the most boy obsessed. And sometimes I had friends who weren't like super close, but were quite close, where they would talk about boys like all day, every hour, every minute, every second. Okay, they were like, boys were everything to them. And I was never like that. And again, this is not me being, I'm better than them, but I just, for me, I think, first of all, I never got too much like attention from men, so I think it does participate in that. And I think if you start getting a lot of male attention at your most vulnerable, which is when you're a teen, you have body image issues, and you feel like you have still so much to figure out, I think it can really change your whole personality, you know. So I don't really blame the other girls who were like boy obsessed. And in a way, I understood them, because I think that if I didn't have more to do, I probably would have been the same, to be honest. I think for me, my inner world, and honestly, I could do a whole episode of this podcast on my inner world. I have an alter ego who is, like me, but as a famous pop star / actress and it's an alter ego I've had for over a decade that lives in my head rent-free, like every day, all day, at night. Like, it's crazy. And honestly, I will definitely do a full episode on that. But I think because I've always been someone who lives a lot in her mind rather than in real life. And a lot of my creativity and joy and relationships actually happen in my inner world rather than in real life. And so I think that's also why I've never really focused too much on boys. Is as a teenager, I had so much free time. Oh God, I miss that. Wow, I've never, like since then, I've never had this much free time anymore. It was so fun. The amount of hours I've wasted on nothing. Oh, I miss that. Wow, I miss that so fucking much, guys. But yeah, I don't know. I just, for me, to be honest, and to be fair, that's like the way it's supposed to be, because that's the way we are socialized. So again, the way we are socialized is boys are like this, girls are like this. They do not intersect. We have completely different interests, completely different personalities, and because since basically the moment we're born, we are being told, as girls, boys are super different from you. They don't understand you. They think you're weird, blah, blah, blah. And as boys, girls are super weird. You don't understand them, blah, blah, blah. We are made to be, honestly, society makes us enemies. And then later on, as teenagers and adults, we are supposed to want to seek a relationship, a companionship with each other, even though we've been socialized to be strangers, to be people who do not understand each other whatsoever. And we're still supposed to want to spend the rest of our lives together. And for me, I think it took me a while for me to formulate this idea and realize that. But I think I was aware of it, honestly, since middle school. Because for me, guys would never really truly understand me. And we're gonna talk about it. It's still something that guides a lot of my vision on relationships and relationship with men. So I discovered feminism through social media. So again, I've always been a very girly girl. I wanted to be a fashion stylist like every other bitch. And I was a bit more like nerdy. I loved books. I wanted to be a writer. This was my first dream. And still to this day, I really wish that someday I can be a screenwriter. I would love to write series. Oh, that would be so fun. I feel like I could write banger series, like for real. But, I was always someone who did not care for sports, who always liked the more individual things. So one thing that I realized also a few years ago now is that women's hobbies are almost always personal, individual. So it's gonna be, I like to sing, I like to play the guitar, I like to draw, I like to write, I like to dance. Maybe dance is a bit more group work, but a lot of female hobbies are, first of all, I like to make necklaces or jewelry, and a lot of these hobbies are, first of all, more creative, which, yes, I think creativity is definitely linked with femininity, but also these are individual hobbies. This is something that nourishes your individual life, your life with yourself. And on the other hand, we have boy hobbies, which are playing football, basketball, badminton, blah, blah, blah. And it is also watching, sports on the TV. What else? Like, what are other boys' hobbies? They have nothing. Like, they have no personality. Sorry, I'm sorry. There is working out, which, yes, is more individual, but usually, like, it's something that you'll do in the gym with other people around you. It's a way to socialize, because boys, I think if you're in any type of feminism discourse circle, whatever, on social media, it's been established that a male friendship is just lacking. It's most of the time, of course, we're using the figure of generalization. Okay, so I'm not saying that every male friendship is kind of surface level. I'm just saying that in general, it's been proven that, like, male friendship, like, male friends rarely can really talk about their true feelings and things like that. And it's also been shown that male friendship and female friendships are so different because female friendships are based on talking, on sharing information, sharing trauma, sharing our deep secrets or things like that. Whereas male friendship is based on doing. So you're gonna come over to play video games or go play football together or do this kind of stuff. Where it is again very different, and again all of this participates in the socialization of women and men very early on to again make us so drastically different. Yet after a while we need to like search a companionship, and it's supposed to be fulfilling for us, even though we are complete aliens to each other. We are so completely different. And for me, I've always again been very feminine in my way of thinking. I love talking. I love sharing my secrets. I love this is every kind of more feminine thing. I love makeup. I love fashion. I love jewelry. I love bags. I love all of these kinds of everything aesthetic. All of my hobbies, they're creative, and they're also solo things that I do with myself, which is again a very feminine thing. And everything masculine has always honestly pushed me away. Honestly looked really uninteresting to me. So what do you mean you watch the TV and watch guys run after a ball? This is not a concept for me. The few times I've watched quite a few football matches, and of course I'm gonna say football because I refuse to call it soccer just because Americans want to always be fucking different from everybody else. Okay? I'm tired of that. So it's gonna be football. Okay? Like the rest of the world says. So anyways, sorry, that was a little rant. Once again, I'm a bit angry today, so. And so, for me, it's the few football matches that I've seen, I trash talk the whole time because it's so boring. What is this? You see dumbasses just running after a ball. What is this? But anyways, I'm sorry. This is me spitting on a lot of men's favorite hobbies, so I'm very sorry about that. And video games, just okay. So for the longest time, I was like, why would you do video games? You only have a few years on this earth and you choose to spend hours and hours and days and months doing something that does not add anything to your life. It's just for me, and honestly, I still think this way. Video games do not translate into anything but personal achievement, personal validation, which is okay. But at the same time, I think there's so many other things that would make you feel more validated, more like you have achieved something great than doing video games. Learn how to paint. You'll have a physical thing of what you've created. Learn how to do anything else. I don't know. Even just go play, if you love to play FIFA, just go play real sports, at least you feel it. Your muscles are sore, and if you win, you're super happy. You're hugging your friends and your teammates. But for me, video games, I've always felt very not for me. Not for me. I don't really get it. And now I kind of have become a really good Subway Surfer player. So basically, I'm always in the top 10 French players of Subway Surfer. I downloaded it last year for shits and giggles. I was like, oh my god, I haven't played this game in a decade. Let's go. And turns out I'm really freaking good at it. I'm actually really good at it. So I'm consistently in the top 10, top 5, and I've been the French number 1 champion one week. So that was cool. I like that. So I understand, but for me, it's a waste of time. Honestly, I'm I need to delete this fucking app off of my phone. But now, because I've become so good at it and I'm always in the top 10, feel like if I delete it, my whole life is gonna go away, So anyway, I've just never understood male hobbies, and I've never really understood men. I just don't, we don't relate. But again, it's because we have been socialized and made to feel so foreign and not connecting with each other. So I think it was when I was about 13 that I discovered feminism on like Facebook and like YouTube. That's when I started watching. And I think the first thing, like the first thing about feminism that I really started, that I really connected with was like, yeah, male and women should be equal. Like, it must have been a meme on Facebook or something. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm a girl. I want to be equal to men. So obviously it's like really surface level. It's like also like anti-racism memes that I would see. It's also like, yeah, racism is bad. Okay. So no real depth. But obviously I was fucking 13. So I'm not gonna start spouting some whole ass feminist debate like I am capable of doing now. And also at this time I reconnected with my best friend. So my best friend and I, we are very, very big feminists. And we talk about it a lot, and it's always informed our relationship a lot because we love to share. We're very debate, especially she loves debate. So we always talk about like very deep social issues and kind of debate on it. Even when we're on the same side, we're just going to like bounce ideas off of each other. And yeah, when I became friends with her again, because basically with my best friend, we were friends when we were 7 years old, but I was a horrible friend. I was a tyrant. So I was very, very shy, as I said, very reserved, not okay, not confident at all. But I found other girls that were either more shy than me or like with less strong personalities. And I would just like make them submit to me, I guess, and become their boss. And like, I was just horrible. I lost so many friends there because I was just a very weird fucking kid. Like I was super shy still, yet bossing other girls around. It was just a bit pathetic. But anyways, I was literally 7 years old, so anyways. And yeah, so after we were friends for a year, very, very close, like only us as a friendship, like a duo, if you will. And then, yeah, she kind of got sick of me and, dropped me, and I found other friends to boss around. So I was kind of like, bye bitch. And, yeah, we rekindled during a ski trip that we did when we were 13, almost 14 in 8th grade. And yeah, that was the era where like more feminism was getting onto Facebook. And then I think it's also when I turned 13, 14 that I started watching YouTube. Most of it I was watching like makeup tutorials for my French speaking viewers, like Enjoy Phoenix, and there was this girl who was in a wheelchair. Oh shit, there was so many of them. Oh my god, I followed them all. Yeah, so I watch mostly makeup because that's also when I got into makeup. And yeah, so I also started to slowly watch. But it's kind of weird because I remember watching feminist videos then, but my English was shit. I started watching feminist videos on YouTube, like English ones, after I turned 15. So I don't know. I think for like a full year and a half almost, for like a full year, a lot of my feminism came from my best friend. Like she would tell me ideas because she was already bilingual in English. So she would tell me ideas that she saw in YouTube videos. She was also way more into YouTube than me at the time. And we would talk about it, and that's kind of how I got really into feminism. We are like kind of really obsessed with it. We would talk about it all day, all night, every time, like all the time. And at the time it was kind of like white feminism. It was the early 2010s, so not very deep stuff, very quite surface level, but in a sense a lot of the topics that I really know more about today, I can talk about more today, I already kind of knew what my stance on them was at the time. And then I went to high school, and high school is when I become like I'm not going to call myself a radical feminist because sadly now it has really bad connotations of being a TERF. And if you don't know, I am absolutely not a TERF. I am someone who respects all trans people, validates all trans people. You are valid and real, and I will never exclude you from any type of discussions, much less feminist discussion. Okay, so I just needed to say that, especially in today's climate where the hate on trans people is literally insane and makes my blood boil. And I really don't want to be informed about what goes on anymore, because the amount of hate against LGBTQ plus people, but especially trans people, in these past few months / year is honestly a bit terrifying when I think about it. And it can get very, very depressing to only hear this kind of thing all day long. So yeah, for a little while I kind of shut it off because it got a little too much. I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, just to say that this is a safe space for trans people and I accept each and every one of you guys. So, but yeah, if there was not this connotation that radical feminists are TERFs, I would consider myself a very, very big feminist. Like I would consider myself someone who can have quite radical ideas, but yeah, I will not call myself a radical feminist for this. And yeah, I was in high school, I dealt with a lot. I had an eating disorder. Fun. I got a depressive episode. Fun. I hated myself. I hated my body. I hated everything around me. I was lucky that I had a friend group that was quite solid and helpful. But apart from that, everything else was going to shit. Like basically my whole life was a big, big dumpster fire of hell. And at that time I saw something actually really recently, like this week, that said that social media and the internet is something that might not necessarily cause loneliness, but is something that lonely people turn to when they are their most lonely. And for me, it was absolutely the case. My social life was existent in real life, but where I got my social validation was much more so on the internet. So I would have two big things that I would be on the internet for. So one was gay couples. So I was obsessed with Klein from Glee, Rob Ron from Emmerdale, and then I got into BL when I turned 18. And apart from that, it was feminism. And when I was in high school, it's when my feminism got broader because I became bilingual in English. So basically in between 9th grade and 10th grade, during the summer break, I watched all 5 seasons of Glee that were out at the time, and then season 6 aired a couple months later. And I watched Teen Wolf at the time as well. And yeah, I just became bilingual out of nowhere. So I was already quite okay at English prior to that, in the sense that, I was in the special English class, so I had regular English, and then I was in other English lessons. To be fair, I was really not good at English, but I was put in that class because I was a really good student everywhere else, but I was the worst student of that class. But it also meant that I had quite a few bases in English, which is where I think I became bilingual very easily once I started listening to English every day by watching Glee and rewatching Glee and rewatching Glee. Yeah, I watched a lot of Glee. And once I became bilingual, I started watching mostly English videos on YouTube. And that's when I really got into feminism. I really started getting into feminist discourse and really, really listening to these types of stuff. And that's when I realized that feminism is not just about women, but it's about every minority. So much so that nowadays, when I say I'm a feminist, I use it as a catch-all term to say that I'm a feminist, that I'm anti-racism, anti-homophobia, anti-transphobia, anti-biphobia, anti-xenophobia, anti-Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and many, many more, anti any type of discrimination against minorities, right? So I now use this feminism as this catch-all term, which might not be accurate. I wish there would be a term I'm anti-discrimination, but it doesn't sound the same as saying I'm a feminist. So for me, when I say I'm a feminist, it means I'm an intersectional feminist. And this era of my life, when I was 15, 16, is when I really discovered that word of intersectional feminist. And it's when I really got into feminism. Feminism really occupies so much of my brain space to this day, really. It's been a decade now, because it started when I was 14. I'm now 24. It's been a decade of feminism occupying half of my brain space, for real. But it's when I really broadened my horizons. I started listening to more trans women and women of color. And to be fair, it was never like I'm glad that I was never one of these girls who like needs to be reminded to follow people who have different experiences than me, in the sense that like way before I even started questioning me being bisexual, I was already following a lot of queer content creators, a lot of trans content creators. I've been following Ty Turner, so a trans content creator, for over a fucking decade, okay? And on YouTube. And so yeah, it's just like, it's never been something that I've had to like remind myself to do, like, let's be inclusive. For me, I've always seeked a different point of view than mine. And yeah, I think I also talked about it in last episode, because I've always loved difference. Like, everyone who is different is fascinating to me, not in a way like I'm gawking at you like, wow, you're weird, or you're exotic or whatever, but it's always been fascinating, probably because I've always felt so different as well. And so I think different people recognize difference as something good, because you're like, oh, I don't feel like I really belong in society or whatever. And you feel like you don't belong either. Let's like share why that is. Like, what are your reasons? What are mine? Where do they intersect? Where do they differ? And so for me, yeah, I'm really glad that I've always had very diverse voices guiding me on my feminist journey and on every type of anti-discrimination journey that I've been on. And yeah, I would not, like, for me, it was, I remember I saw a TikTok of a girl, of a black woman, and she was like, if you're white, how many times do you have to scroll on your For You page on TikTok until you see a person of color? And I was like, literally the first TikTok I see when I open TikTok is a person of color. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, for me, it's just never really been an issue of forcing diversity in my content consumption, simply because I've always appreciated every type of creator in the way that they are, you know? So just, I feel like I'm bragging right now, but it's true. Like, it's the truth of the matter. And yeah, in high school, so one thing about me is I've never, kind of embarrassing, but I've never been in a serious relationship. And so it makes it so I've never had like true, if you will, whatever that means, romantic relationship with a man. So basically, I've only been like out as bi for like 2, maybe 3 years max. I've never kissed a girl, never done anything with a girl. It's truly tragic, I know. But so yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. But for men, I've never felt like I really related to them. And very early on, because I became a feminist quite early on as a teenager, it also made me notice the systemic flaws of men around me very early on. And I think it's also made it so it's kind of hard for me to get in a relationship with a man, because, first of all, as a feminist, it's very, very hard to not witness and to not realize how shitty men treat women. Like, it's just impossible. I remember there's this TikTok again. If you're anywhere on feminist TikTok, you have seen this fucking sound and a text, which is that I think it's a quote that says something along the lines of becoming a feminist is the hardest thing you can do, because once you're aware of the injustice and the cruelty going on around you, you can never close your eyes again and ignore it. And it's so true. It's so true in the sense that first of all, I would need, if I want to date a man, he needs to be a feminist, and like, not a performative feminist, not like, yeah, I'm a feminist to get coochie. I have met these types of guy before, but a true feminist, someone who truly wants equality between men and women, and who does not want it because it will also benefit men in some ways. You know, for the longest time, this is a very recent feminist take that I've realized. For the longest time, every time I would talk feminist, I would bring up like, yeah, and the patriarchy also is bad for men. It doesn't allow them to express their emotions, and it put them in boxes, which is definitely true in that sense. The patriarchy is definitely bad for men, okay? But I think also the patriarchy benefits men more than it is bad for them. And call me fucking dumb or whatever, but I did not realize that for the longest time. I was so busy repeating the talking points of trying to get men aboard the feminist ship, if you will, and be like, yeah, it will help you too. Come on aboard. But, the reason why patriarchy has subsisted until now, the reason why patriarchy is so far away from being dismantled is because it profits men more than it hurts them. It does hurt them in very substantial ways, but it benefits them way more. And this is again a very recent take that I've realized this fucking year, bitch, is that men need to dismantle something that so dearly profits them, and something that oftentimes they don't really realize profits them, because they don't even, first of all, men are not socialized to empathize with people. Men are very well known for their lack of emotional interrelations, which includes empathy. Empathy is something that a lot of men lack, and that's very unfortunate, right? But it's also because of the way they were socialized, right? Someone said that women tend to empathize with other minorities way more because we know what it is to be a minority. But when you're a man, you literally have never made the experience of discrimination for being a straight white man. Never. So how could you empathize? First of all, you weren't taught empathy, and even then, you don't even register others' experiences. One thing I'm going to bring my dad up again. I've had a lot of debates, feminist debates, and again, feminist when I'm talking feminism, again, intersectional feminism, with my parents. And I noticed very early on that my dad, every time he would justify like any type of discourse, anything, he would be like, yeah, but I've never had this experience in my life. So I would talk about men being sexual assaulters or things like this, and he would be like, yeah, but I don't really know of any man who's sexually assaulted someone or who's done this or that. And I would be like, but you cannot use your personal experience to say that it does not exist when studies have proved that this kinds of thing exists. And every time I would talk about a number, like, this study said that blah, 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 blah. This study said that blah, blah, blah. He would always be like, yeah, but that's not really my experience in my life. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not just your experience in life. In fact, your experience, again, as a privileged, cis, hetero, white male, your experience is very removed from the experiences of basically everyone else who's not like you. So obviously you haven't had this experience. And after a while he kind of got it. Like, honestly, I've made my parents so much more woke because I just always get into it. Like, I get into debates with my parents about feminism and about racism and about blah, blah, blah. And I don't care. Like, I will spit all the talking points that I have studied and learned over the past decade. And, yeah, I would say I'm pretty good at debates. Personally, that's how I say it. Yeah. But yeah, I have really convinced them to call themselves feminists. Because one thing about me is, like, I grew up on the cusp of when feminist was like a bad word that only men-hating women with armpit hair were identified as. And the cusp of now feminism being the norm, right? I would feel nowadays someone who says, like, I'm not a feminist is kind of weird. It's kind of looked at like, oh, you don't want equality? Oh, okay. You're sexist? Okay, yikes. You know, so I was on the cusp of both eras because I was born in 1999. And so I think it's, I'm glad that I was, like, when I was a teenager is when feminism kind of became trendy, kind of became the norm. And even though, yeah, it's been used a lot by corporations and social media to like seem woke and things like that, yeah, it's still good, because before that, feminism was like something that's, even if you want the equality of women, you would not say that word before. And so my parents, I had to like really, I've woke them up. I've made them a little bit more woke. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Even though my parents are like definitely never were bigots or anything of the sorts. I mean, they've always been leftists. They've always had like queer friends. They've always like cared about like the rights of women and things like that. So it's not like I took them from point zero to like super woke in a few years. Obviously, they were already on the way to that, but like didn't really have the discussions and the talking points that we have available to us today. And now I listen to much less like fully feminist videos. I listen to like leftist essays. I'm on RedTube, definitely. So I listen to, I love FD Signifier. I love Foreign Man in a Foreign Lands. I love ContraPoints, obviously. Who else? Who are the leftists that I follow? But even the non like super RedTube adjacent figures, I really like all of Tiffany Ferg essays about like random topics, and they're always very like anti-capitalism and like these types of things. And yeah, oh wow, I need to talk about that, capitalism. Anyways, we're getting to that. But yeah, I think my feminism has really evolved in the sense that it really becomes more fine-tuned and more woke in a way. I like using the word woke because it exemplifies being, again, when I say I'm woke, it's clear that I'm like anti-discrimination of everything, anti-racism, and don't make me repeat that fucking list, okay? But when I say I'm feminist, it seems more geared towards like only women's equality. But in the recent years, so now I've graduated high school, graduated my bachelor degree, and I'm doing my master's. My feminism has evolved even more in the sense that I've also kind of become a communist. I don't know if I would describe myself a communist because I've never read like Karl Marx, so I'm not like the most informed on communism, but I watch a lot of videos. A lot of my feed is now also anti-capitalist. So I would say I'm just like a very political person in general. Also, yeah, my feminism before was mostly just watching content creators talk about feminism and feminist issues, which I still do very much every day. But now I follow politics way closer. I think since Trump was elected, so I remember when Trump got elected, I was in my last year of high school. And I remember we went to school, it was a Wednesday. I remember when he was elected. He was elected during the night because obviously time difference between France and the US. But I remember waking up to the news that he had been elected. And I remember going to class and and we had like a philosophy class. So that was fucking crazy. And I remember for like the first half hour of the class, we were just all whispering to each other in shock, like, can't believe they elected him. And to be honest, I think Trump's election really was my start to becoming political. And to this day, I think I'm not political enough, especially in terms of French politics. And I also would love to know more about Thai politics because I do live here. And I do want to live here in a more permanent manner. So I feel like you need to know the politics of the country you want to live in, obviously. So I'm going to try to like really get more into it. I know a lot about American politics, a little bit about British politics, but I do listen to like global politic news. I've been following Philip DeFranco on YouTube for fucking almost a decade too as well. So now I listen to Hassan Piker also, the live. So I follow a lot of things like that. And yeah, it really informs my political views. And I think becoming political is a very interesting thing that I've done because I could have been a feminist who was not necessarily political. And I think being political is very hard because there's so much going on at all times. And there's so much like hard-hitting news, so you kind of have to form an opinion quite quickly on these, because they keep going. You cannot like be like, what's my opinion on like Israel, Palestine, and like take a full year to figure it out. Though honestly, on that case, because this issue has been going on for so long, it's something that I've had my mind made up on, especially, you can imagine, I am half Lebanese, so especially on that a long time ago. But and also, yeah, I'm anti-racism, I am anti-colonization, things like that. So I think my opinion on the matter is quite clear, right? But yeah, for me, like, being political is very, very important, and it's something that has become so embedded in my life. And I think one example of that is like, so I took a 2 years break between my bachelor degree back in France, and now I'm doing my master's here. And a lot of the assignments and essays I have to write on culture and arts, I have chosen to take a political and more so a social political approach to them, and really talk. I love, for me, politics, what I love about politics is not really the economic side or whatever, it's always the social side. Again, like feminist, and yeah, again, I'm very, like, I just care about social issues so much, because I think, like, I've always cared about humans so much. For me, humans are, if you see, my whole personality has always been so much about humans. So, for example, in all the media consumed, being it movies, books, series, everything, for me, the character development is always the most important. I'm very focused on people. I've always been someone who can read people very well, who loves my relationships with others, and my social links with others is probably the most important thing to me. It's the thing that nourishes me the most in life. And so, yeah, for me, the social aspect of my life has always been so centered and so important. So for me, it's not a shock at all that I really care about the social aspect of politics. Because I think humans come before money. They come before anything else. Humans and our safety and our equality should always come before anything else. Sadly, obviously, in our capitalistic world, it's kind of, we've kind of lost the plot, yeah. But yeah, so that's my opinion, and it really shocked me, because when I was back doing my bachelor's degree, I had to write a lot of essays and shit, and I really focused more on like the artistic side of it. And I would like talk about politics quite often, especially in my English classes, because like every semester I would have a new English class on a different topic. And I also had, like, in my last semester of bachelor school of university back in Paris, I had a class called gender studies, so that was super cool. And yeah, so I obviously, I've always been quite political in my work, but I realized during this master, I was like, wow, I keep talking about social political issues and the background of like countries and art scenes and all of that. So it's very interesting. So yeah, it really informs now my whole life. And about my relationship with men. Why do I keep, like, this is a feminist episode. Why do I keep talking about fucking men? Anyways, I meant fucking men, not fucking men. I mean, in that sense, yes, that too. But anyway, so to conclude, because I've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes. To conclude, it's really hard for me to relate to men, to bond with men, and to really create a real deep relationship with men, because I feel like they are not woke enough, and they are not up for it. I'm gonna be honest. It's just something that, like, I refuse. For me, being single this for so long, I refuse to be in a relationship where it does not add to my life. And when I see so many women have to do most of the chores at home, and have to do most of the emotional work in the relationship, and it feels to me as if a heterosexual relationship in 2023 99% of the time is not worth it. And that's why I'm happy I'm bisexual, I'm gonna be honest. Even though I get no bitches, got no girls either. So yeah, single forever. I just deleted all of the dating apps. I was tired, but that's another episode. I will make an episode on being unlovable and never getting any bitches, because I think that's a really also interesting topic that I think some people might relate to. But yeah, I think it's really hard because sometimes I wish I didn't have this high of a standard and I wasn't that woke, and I wish I could accept the bare minimum from men. But then I remind myself that I would be fucking unhappy, and even though everyone else would be like, oh wow, you're in a relationship, congrats. Like, congrats, you are doing what you are, quote unquote. There's a fucking mosquito, bitch! Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry. Quote unquote meant to do, because romantic relationships are so centered in our society and they're meant to be the end all be all of life, right? There is like, even though single unmarried women are the happiest type of women. So when I think about being single forever, I don't really see myself being unhappy. But I do, I honestly, I don't even think relationships are for me. Especially not relationship with men. But I would just like to try it for once. Like, have a serious relationship with a guy. Because I think I would be like, oh yeah, it's really not for me. And then I would give up and start dating only women or being single forever. And I think that would be great. Like, to have the confirmation, right? Or if I start dating someone, a guy, and he ends up being my soulmate, then good, I don't have to date around anymore. Like, I found him, So it would be a win-win situation in every case. But yeah, for now I have accepted my fate as a single woman, and I think it is hard to date as a feminist, and it is hard to date men, especially as a feminist, for sure. And it's also hard to not overanalyze your friendships as well. Because until then, my friendships back in France were always women that were very feminist like me, very similar to me in terms of personalities and way of looking at life, and yeah, being feminists. And since I've been here, I've met so many other people who are not just like French women, and who are from all over the world and have so many different experiences. And some of them don't care for dating at all. Some others are obsessed with men. And so yeah, I've like really encountered so many different experiences, which is very interesting, because again, I love analyzing people around me. Like, it's my favorite thing ever. I love that. But yeah, I've encountered a lot of women who, despite identifying as feminists, I'm not gonna say that they are not, because it's not my place. It's not very girl support girls of me. But it is a bit jarring when you identify as a feminist, yet you say very problematic things, and you research very, very strict gender roles in your relationships. For me, it is jarring, especially since my type in men is a very not the traditional Chris Evans and what's his fucking name? The guy who plays Thor, Chris Hemsworth, and all of these guys. I like my soft boys, okay? I like my artsy boys. I like me, but as a boy, that would be perfect. Like, and me, but as a girl, that also would be perfect. Like, I'm not picky. I just need me, but like in someone else. That would be great. That is my type, babes. That's what it is. But yeah, it makes it makes also my friendships a bit harder sometimes, because I'm like, wow, what you said was incredibly problematic. Like, babes, we're gonna need to analyze that. Like, we're gonna need to rethink, okay? We're gonna need to change a little bit, because I love you, but this is not it. So yeah, I've learned to be a bit more forgiving. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing, I think some of these friends I'm gonna have to ditch eventually, I'm gonna be honest, because sometimes it's really, really against my values what the kind of thing they say. It's never like overtly like racist or sexist, but sometimes it is a bit like not cool on my watch at all. So, but yeah, like feminism really informs all of my relationships, for the best and for the worst sometimes too. And yeah, living in a country abroad and meeting, I was a Parisian for 23 years of my life, and I think we are like quite woke and quite like open-minded in Paris. And so for me it was more rare to find someone I did not agree with. But it is hard here, even though I am only friends with girls, to find girls who are like 100% on the same page as me in terms of feminism. But I've also never been like completely judged. And yeah, I think it's just like some of it is cultural differences. And yeah, it's also something like some people are just not as woke, are not as advanced in their woke journey as me, which is totally fine. Again, I started quite young and I consume a lot of woke content, so it's also a lot of it is on me. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of it is me being crazy and watching hours of YouTube every fucking week. Like it's a problem. I need to stop sometimes. Like, I need to stop. But yeah, I think that was it. That was my journey from I'm not like other girls when I was like 7 to being like a huge, huge feminist. And I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. But of course, like if you listen to the rest of my podcast and even future episodes, I think that we will have many other feminist discussions and woke discussions later on. I think it informs everything that I talk about and a lot of my personal experiences as well. So because this podcast is so centered around me and my experiences, it will come up again. So it was very surface level. I feel like I could talk about this topic for 5 hours more, but it's late. I gotta go to immigration soon. So yeah, that was it for today. I would love to hear you guys' journey to feminism and wokeness in general, and how that informs your own relationships, how that informs the content that you consume and your online life, if you will. I will see you next month. Okay, I'm gonna give you the preview for the next episode, I guess. Oh, and the next episode is gonna be fire! It's gonna be the pros and cons of being an only child. This episode is very important to me because I think that only children get like a lot of random hate. I don't know if it's like jealousy from people who have siblings that they don't like very much, or if it's just like, again, being quite different because most people have siblings in this world and being an only child is not very... It's common, but it's not like that common because usually parents rarely want to become parents only once. Most people want at least 2 or 3 kids. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting episode. It's an episode that's probably a bit more contained because I think feminism was too broad of a topic. And I feel a bit frustrated right now. I feel like I want to say more, but also I'm fucking tired. So just let's stop it here. And I think you guys are tired too. I've been talking for too long. But yeah, that will be the next episode. I'll see you in a month. Pray for me for immigration. I'm an atheist. Why did I say pray? I mean, think of me, send me positive vibes. And yeah, I really hope that I get I finish by 12. Oh, knock on wood, knock on wood. I finish by 12 and can be home and sleep because I'm fucking tired as fuck. Tired as fuck, guys. So yeah, have a great day. See you next time. Bye bye.